Well, I'm gonna go on to our next topic here, and I'm gonna go with Ian, the Enigma, and you are muted. So that was fun.
Oh, yep.
Good thing
Welcome
good
back.
thing he moves his hands.
Yeah, yeah, I would never know.
Yep. So guys, sorry about that. I wanted to know because there's three of us that I know for sure that play fantasy football. And I wish Rocco was kind of here to chime in on this because he has a strong opinion on it. But what are your thoughts on fantasy football? This is the second year I've ever started. It's I actually love it. I don't know why I never did it before. It's interesting. It brings a whole another dynamic to a sport that I grew up with, and I root for teams and players and stuff like that I never thought I would have root for. So I just kind of wanted to know your guys' thoughts on it. Clay, do you play fantasy football at all?
He's gone.
I mean, Alan. Damn it.
No, I don't. I do not.
No?
Not really interested in football in general.
Okay.
I watch soccer myself. I have done fantasy soccer before, so I understand kind of the rules of fantasy football.
Mm-hmm.
But fantasy football specifically, no, I am not interested in it. And to be honest, I hate when my friends start talking about it.
Well, now let me ask you this though. So that's pretty interesting that you've done fantasy soccer.
Right.
Like, do you pick like certain positions?
Yeah, so the same thing.
How does that
You
work?
pick a player based on a certain position,
Okay.
and then you have like substitutes, so you can have your substitute squad as well, or substitute players as well. And then you get points based on their goals, their assists, their interceptions, tackles,
Oh,
like
okay,
all
so
that, all that kind of stuff. Similar things. I think fantasy football has a little bit deeper amount of stats that you can track, but on paper it works exactly the same as football.
Yeah, and I remember Steven's uncle, which is Rocco's stepdad. He played fantasy football back in like the '90s. This is before, apps and everything to track it. Where
Right.
They would have to sit there and wait for the paper to come out, and then they would tally up all their points. And I remember him having like stacks of stuff and like doing it all, and like it looked like he was doing like this huge math problem. I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell is this? And I guess that maybe is why I was kind of turned off on it for so long. And I actually was kind of the same way. Years ago, I'd go and watch football, and all these people were like, "Oh, rooting for this one guy on the team." I'm like, "Well, why don't you root for the whole damn team?"
Yeah.
And it did annoy me for a while, and then finally last year, I was like, "Yeah, well, let's give it a shot," because like my brother-in-law and a lot of people wanted to kind of try it. So I actually, my very first year, I ran a whole league. And I just
Nice.
fell in love with it. So I'm in my second year now. I'm finding myself enjoying it more and more, and it gives you not something to do on Sunday, but like instead of just sitting there watching, because I'm a Bears fan, a Chicago Bears fan, and
The Bears.
Yeah, the Bears.
So instead of seeing Jake Locker not care and throw interceptions all day, you can actually care about other players on other teams
Exactly,
and
yep.
be emotionally invested.
There you go. So now, I know you're a big fantasy football guy too, right, Clay?
Yeah, huge. I absolutely love it. I think it just adds to my love of football because like before this, I definitely cared about every game in the sense that like how it impacted like my thoughts and like my predictions of who was going to make it to the Super Bowl and all this other jazz. But now I'm down to the players and like seeing like it's pretty wild. Like I can go into like, oh, that one defender, he's gotten 8 sacks, he's got 7 rushes, like he's been doing pretty good. Like this guy has gotten 8 targets a game, and he's returning about like a crazy 4.5 yards after catch kind of thing.
Right.
So he's kind of like in terms of like knowledge, like Alan was saying, in depth of what you can go with these players, like it just enhanced that, and it's really fun. And I have a family that I set up, and it just adds like. I mean, with the fantasy football league, it adds a bunch of interaction with family members that I wouldn't normally have. So I'm like, I'm trash talking to my dad, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law's husband, like, and we're all going back and forth, and we're playing each other, and we're seeing each other like make moves. It's really fun, 4 months, 5 months out of the year to be a part of. The draft is super exciting. Like everybody gets together, they hop on Skype, we each pick our guys, and then you know what I mean, like. It's a cool event. It's really fun to do, and it makes the entire Sunday amazing, but also stressful because you're just constantly checking your points.
Well, and that's one thing I really liked is that, I'm in a similar league where I have a lot of family in it too. And like last weekend, I missed. You can kind of tell from our previous episodes I wasn't there because I actually was hosting a little football event for the whole fantasy league, and we had like a chili cook-off and everything. We're all sitting there just, it's fun competition, and you're trash talking and everything, and it brings a little bit of another level of love for my wife and I because last year I went against her and it was down to the Monday night game. And I'm normally asleep before these games end on Monday night. But
in your Super Bowl.
No, not in the Super Bowl. It's like it's just the week that we went up against each other.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there in bed. And I'm losing barely, and she's asleep next to me. And my guy catches a touchdown pass, and I win. Like at the end of the game.
Really?
Like, oh my God! So what I did, of course, being me, I go, "Hey, babe," and I shook her and woke her up. She's like, "What?" I said, "I beat you." She goes, "Fuck you."
Yeah, those experiences are really fun.
Oh, yeah.
I had a similar one. I was playing my wife's dad, and it came down to the final play of the final game of the week. And I was like, and it basically went down to this. Out of the 24 players on the field, I had one player that had to get this touchdown. And if anybody else scored, I lost. And he ended up taking the ball, hitting a brick wall of defenders, bouncing off and running around and getting the touchdown, like diving in, barely getting it. And I was like, the whole time just watching this, it was super, super entertaining. A lot of fun. And the other thing that we do is we've incorporated a little bit of the show The League, if anybody watches that, which is basically a comedy sitcom about a group of individuals in a fantasy football league. And the loser gets the Sacco trophy, but what we've done is we've pretty much made a plunger trophy. So whoever loses has to hold this trophy for the year, and they have to etch. In my league, it's me, Sarah, my sister, my dad, Calvin, our friend Matt, who wanted to test this out, Sarah's dad, Sarah's brother, and Sarah's sister's husband.
Okay.
And that's one more. We have 10.
Because I'm going to tell you this, okay? In my league, it's me, my wife, my sister-in-law, her boyfriend, my buddy Matt, and my mom and my dad and my sister. So there's 10 of us. Yeah. So it's kind of like the same little setup that we have here.
It's fun.
And this is the first year my mom has ever done this. And, she grew up, I played football for 9 years, so she knows the sport. She's very familiar with it. But she doesn't really watch much NFL. So she's constantly trying to trade every day, all day. It's bing, bing, bing. You're like, what the hell are you doing? And then the best part is that when we started this right after the draft, I get a call from my mom the next day. She goes, "Hey, can you do me a favor?" I'm like, "Yeah, what?" I was expecting her to say, "Hey, can you come over and help me haul something away or this and that?" Yeah. She goes, "Can you call your wife and ask her to accept the trade?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "What are you talking about?"
What was she trying to trade?
It was, she had, oh man, I want to say it was Bridgewater, and she was asking for, oh man.
Andrew Luck or Aaron Rodgers or something?
Yes, something crazy. So, and I tried to snipe, Antonio Brown off of her, quite honestly.
Nice.
But, yeah. So, it was really funny, because then I tell Taylor, my wife, about this, and she goes, "I feel like I have to do it because it's my mother-in-law, you don't want to go against her." And
hell no. She can't play that card.
I was like, this is very cutthroat. You decline that trade.
Dude, and do you guys have anything special when you win?
We put a little bit of money into it, so just a little, nothing crazy, but so at the end, we're still trying to figure out what the loser has to do, though. We want the loser to do something.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I bought the other 2 years ago. I bought a belt that was like $100. It's a real heavy championship belt. It says Fantasy Football Champion. It's the coolest fucking thing ever. And I haven't won yet, but it just makes me want to win that fucking belt. But that's my motivation. It is with others, and then other people just don't want the plunger. They don't want their name etched on this plunger stick for eternity. Awesome. Yeah, it adds a lot to it. It's really fun. Cool, man. Well, Steve-O, do you play?
He's muted.
Oh. Everybody get muted.
Get muted.
You there?
Can you hear us?
No. So Alan, you only play. No,
Freaking
Steve-O.
time.
There you go. There you go. You were trying to talk the entire time.
Yeah.
You've been muted the entire time.
Is that you're just like, yeah, these guys are ignoring me?
They're just cutting me off.
So you're
They're
trying to talk
assholes.
about like I was like, nah, I'll get into it or whatever. But that sucks. What the
I'm
hell?
sorry, Steve. So what were you gonna say?
What I was gonna say was I'm in the same boat with Alan. You know, like I never really got into fantasy football and everything. I'm in it actually this year. The thing is the only reason why I watch football is because of fantasy football. That's it. Like that's the only reason why. If I don't have anybody playing, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna root. I don't like it. I'm more into, just like he said, he's into soccer. I'm more into baseball.
It's boring sport.
No, it's not boring at all. Especially when you
It's
throw the
terrible.
fantasy aspect into it, because you can, you're it's like an everyday thing, not a once a week thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
fun. But the
I mean,
the
that's
one
your
thing I was
opinion.
gonna ask you two guys is like, is it made it more like fun to watch? Like as far as like playing the fantasy, like I know something like my uncle, like he was talking about, my uncle Rocco's dad. He loves football so much that, and playing fantasy football so much that he actually plays a college league too. Now, would you guys be interested in playing college league? Like that,
No.
is that how much you love the game, or is it just mainly
No.
because you guys know the players and that you guys are playing more because of
I'm
that?
just not interested in college.
Yeah, I'm more interested in the NFL. I mean, it's okay. And the thing is that when I sat there and used to watch football, I never jumped up and said, "Oh yeah, that's awesome." You know, I'm like happy. I'm like, "Oh cool, yeah, we scored."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so
But-
fantasy football is making it more interesting.
Dude,
oh my
it
God, yeah. When your guy
enhances it.
scores and you're like, "Fuck yeah!"
Yeah. Yeah. What's really tough is sometimes you end up drafting players in your division that you don't like, the opponent's team.
Oh,
And so, like, it gets really hard because my team is the Titans, and they could be playing these guys. I'm like, fuck, I need this guy to make a lot of points, but I don't want him to be Titans.
Have you gotten anybody off the Patriots before on your team?
I refuse to draft anybody on the Patriots. I refuse to. I know someone. I used to work with someone. We were in a fantasy football league, and he would not draft anybody because he was a Patriots fan. He would not draft anybody the Patriots would play.
What?
Yeah, so like he
that's-
could
that's
always
pretty
root
good
for the
because you wouldn't
so he
draft
would
them.
always root for the Patriots, and he never have to worry about, like, he would look at their schedule and see what teams they played, and he would never draft anybody on those teams.
Oh, do you draft every week?
No, you draft once,
Draft
and then
once.
you can
So could he only get Patriots players then?
Patriots players. Well, they only play about, like, they have 16 games.
Yeah.
4 of which are repeated, so it's really 12. So it's 12 teams that eliminates players that he can choose from. But he can, he's got the Patriots
How many
and like
teams
the
are there?
32.
Oh. And
So
he
he's
only
got
plays
a-
16 games a season?
Yeah.
Well, it used to be 18.
No, it was never 18. What are you talking about?
I thought it used to
Jesus.
be longer. I
Oh,
thought it used to be
dude,
longer.
And
Yeah,
then the
it's
Super Bowl?
yeah.
Yeah.
Playoffs and the Super
Playoffs
Bowl.
and Super Bowl. Yeah.
How many games are in the playoffs?
Oh,
3?
shit.
3. There's the
3.
wild card round, the division, and then the championships, and then
Yep.
you have the Super Bowl. Yeah, dude, it sucks because
How boring.
well, it's not boring. It's
Every-
awesome.
Yeah.
Because every game
counts.
counts. One
Yeah.
loss is huge, right? And so that piles up really quickly.
Yeah.
But the thing
Yeah,
that
I'm
really
glad you said it was boring because they said fucking baseball's boring.
baseball is boring. There's way too many
It's not boring
games.
at all.
No games have meaning. You can lose like 50 games and it doesn't matter. You're like, whatever.
But it's about averages in baseball.
Yeah.
Nah. Ah.
I tried to hit baseball.
The thing
That's why,
and
like, if they say somebody bats over 300, that's like amazing, and that's only 30% of the time they hit the ball. Like,
yeah, but that's relative. I mean, you have the same emotional impact as you do between 16 games. It just means it's a smaller number. That's all.
yeah,
They're still the same.
the percentages would be higher, I think. The average ratio would probably be higher because it's on less games to average.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, it would be just a different perspective. that
Right.
you would like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
different number would have the same meaning. But what does suck about the football only being 16 games is that the season is just September to December, and it's pretty much over.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the playoffs are in January, and then it's the first week in February that the Super Bowl is. So
Yeah.
it's really only 5 months long.
That's crazy.
It sucks because
Soccer season is almost like, I want to say, like, at least 9 months of the year.
right.
Yeah.
So is basketball, and so is baseball, and it blows, man. You wait so many months for this fucking
Wow.
season
Yeah.
to start, and then it's over before you blink of an eye.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah,
And I can
but
watch,
it
and I can watch European soccer, and then in the summer when it's over, U.S. soccer starts. So there's always like some time of the year that I can watch like professional soccer.
Yeah.
So what you do is basically right. So February is the Super Bowl, right?
Well,
Then there's nothing, and then March begins free agency, and that's what everybody gets excited about in football because you want to see what guy is going to go where. And then April is the draft, and then there's nothing between May and June. It is just a ghost town, and like football fans get really irritated and pissed off, and like you can just tell. And then when July comes around, there's training camp, and we get really excited about hearing about how people are doing in training camp. And then August is preseason, like Ian was saying, and those games don't matter except for like the third game. It's like the closest thing to a real thing. And then September starts, and then you go into your playoffs in January.
You know they had
crazy.
Fantasy League of Legends for the World Championships this year.
Oh my
no
God!
shit.
What?
We should have got into that.
That would
They
be
have it
interesting.
Hosted by Riot too. Like it's not as detailed. It's not like I don't think it's like
It's like killing
to be honest I didn't look into it, but it's like assists and kills and stuff, and you pick like who you think will advance from each bracket and stuff. So it's
Neat.
like a little bit more cut and dry than I think fantasy football. But
We should
still,
check it
like,
out.
they have like you win the points or whatever, and I don't know.
That's kind of cool.
bragging rights.
The
Yeah.
next championship that they have, let's do that. I think that'd be really cool.
That'll be next year then.
Yeah, we'll have to next season.
Well, I thought they have seasons, or is it just yearly that they have
The
those?
season is like basically the year, yeah.
Ah, okay.
Season 6 will be next year.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The other thing about fantasy football is that because it can be so it is as stressful as the amount of time and energy you put into
Yeah.
it. But I am a competitor, so I get very into it, and my max is 2 teams. I tried 3 fantasy teams, and that was just way too much. I was a stress ball constantly throughout the week trying to balance all that, and so I'm in 3 again this year, but last year was 2, and the third one this year was an accident. But whatever.
Yeah, I'm in 2, and I actually just enjoyed having the 2 because I have a work league and then I have like my family league, and the work league is great because you're at work, and I'm actually going up against one of my really good buddies this week, and we both had one guy playing on Thursday night, and they both absolutely sucked. And I went into work, and we're just sitting there talking about it, and it just brings out like a little bit more camaraderie at work, a little bit of a competition. So I enjoy it. I think it brings a whole nother aspect to the game, and I don't know why I didn't start earlier. So.
You have to be pretty vigilant to do it too, though, right? Because you have to like always be on top of like your trades or like stats and who you pick and stuff, right?
Theoretically, but there's been I know someone who has been auto drafted during the draft, which means they don't draft; they let the computer draft for them, and then they didn't touch their lineup the whole year, and they end up winning.
Oh,
because it's part luck too. I mean, it's how
there's
do.
Right.
There's so much that goes into it, right? Like people think the draft is all that matters, but that is like a quarter of it, right? The other quarter is like making sure you play the waiver wire because people are constantly getting injured. People are constantly getting demoted because they just don't do well as the new guy who came in the system, and so you have to pick up that guy. And then the other part is just luck. Like the people that you pick up don't go to IR
Best
or whatever.
pickup I got all year was Devontae Freeman.
I know that guy's
nice.
ridiculous right now. He was probably on the waiver wire. He probably wasn't even drafted by a lot of people, and now he's the number 1 running back.
Right.
It's insane.
I picked him up on the waiver wire because one of my running backs got hurt.
And that's how it goes. That's like that luck. You had a need for him at the time. You picked him up.
But I also have the worst luck though because like every year that I've played fantasy football, like my first 2 picks that I pick, always get injured and are out for like 7 weeks.
What happened? Who were the injured players last year?
Stubbed his toe, broke it, whatever. He was gone the first game.
Damn.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh,
He's
shit.
out.
Well, this is this year.
Yeah, this is this year, yeah.
I traded Jeremy Maclin for Des Bryant and my sister this year.
So I actually
Got that Des Bryant coming back pretty soon.
in the league that I run, I actually set up the draft and everything, and we had like a little party at my mom's house, and I ended up picking up Tom Brady in the 4th round.
Smart.
In
Yeah,
the
that's
4th
good.
round, and then boom, 2 days later, his suspension is lifted, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah,
So
he's killing it too.
yeah,
What do you get suspended for?
Cheating.
Cheating. Big surprise. Deflating footballs in the championship game last year against the Colts. they found that he had asked the ball boy to deflate the footballs past regulation or below regulation so that he could have a better grip, thus having a better throw, and people can catch
And he
it.
just got a suspension. That's it.
He didn't get shit, actually. They
Actually,
wanted to
yeah.
suspend him for 4 games, and the judge ruled in his favor because he's a pretty boy.
Yep.
And I hate it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
crazy stuff.
It's bullshit. I hate the
But hey-
Patriots. A bunch of cheaters.
It's making my fantasy awesome. But my sleeper pick in my other league was Robinson. He's the receiver for the
Allen Robinson.
Yep. Yeah, he's been tearing it up. So
Awesome. Okay.
okay.
I watch soccer myself. I have done fantasy soccer before, so I understand kind of the rules of fantasy football.
Mm-hmm.
But fantasy football specifically, no, I am not interested in it. And to be honest, I hate when my friends start talking about it.
Well, now let me ask you this though. So that's pretty interesting that you've done fantasy soccer.
Right.
Like, do you pick like certain positions? And
Yeah, so the same thing.
How does that
You
work?
pick a player based on a certain position,
Okay.
and then you have like substitutes, so you can have your substitute squad as well, or substitute players as well. And then you get points based on their goals, their assists, their interception.
Has a strong opinion on it, but what are your thoughts on fantasy football? This is the second year I've ever started. I actually love it. I don't know why I never did it before. It's interesting. It brings a whole nother dynamic to a sport that I grew up with, and I root for teams and players and stuff like that I never thought I would have root for. So I just kind of wanted to know your guys' thoughts on it. Clay, do you play fantasy football at all?
He's gone.
I mean, Alan. Damn it.
No, I don't. I do not. I'm not really interested in football in general.
Well, I'm going to go on to our next topic here. And I'm going to go with Ian, the Enigma. And you are muted. So that was fun.
Oh, yeah.
Good thing,
Welcome back.
good thing he moves his hands.
Yeah, I would never know.
Yep. So, guys, sorry about that. I wanted to know because there's 3 of us that I know for sure that play fantasy football. And I wish Rocco was kind of here to chime in on this because he's
And tackles,
like
all that kind of stuff. Similar things. I think fantasy football has a little bit deeper amount of stats that you can track, but on paper it works exactly the same as football.
Yeah, and I remember Steven's uncle, which is Rocco's stepdad. He played fantasy football back in like the 90s. This is before, apps and everything to track it.
Right.
They would have to sit there and wait for the paper to come out, and then they would tally up all their points. And I remember him having like stacks of stuff and like doing it all, and like it looked like he was doing like this huge math problem. I was like, what the hell is this? And I guess that maybe is why I was kind of turned off on it for so long. And I actually was kind of the same way. Years ago, I'd go and watch football, and all these people were like, oh, rooting for this one guy on the team. I'm like, well, why don't you root for the whole damn team?
Yeah.
And it did annoy me for a while. And then finally last year, I was like, yeah, well, let's give it a shot because, like, my brother-in-law and a lot of people wanted to kind of try it. So I actually, my very first year, I ran a whole league. And I just fell in love with it. So I'm in my second year now. I'm finding myself enjoying it more and more. And it gives you not something to do on Sunday, but like instead of just sitting there watching, because I'm a Bears fan, Chicago